Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Today we're looking at some new cards which were introduced within the Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's manga from a duel between Luke versus Neil. I'll just remind you as a slight caveat that these cards are in the manga, which means they may or may not see any release anytime soon. Connector Dog is a monster with 1500 attack points. It doesn't have any effects or any other stat line up to it. It's decent because even if you imagine it being a level 4 monster, which I'm going to assume it is, it's very much on the point of, the cap where most level 4 monsters tend to be. Perceptible Manny is a level 7 Dark attribute with 2300 attack and 0 defense. The effect is to shuffle 2 Cyberse type monsters from the graveyard into the deck, to have one monster your opponent control, lose 600 attack points. So this is a bit of a pot of avarice for your Cyberse type monsters. I'm guessing since this doesn't have a type attached to it, that it's probably itself a Cyberse type. So you're able to then shuffle those back into the deck. And it doesn't say the bottom of the deck, which means you're likely to be able to access those cards again when you draw into them. And it does force your opponent's monster to lose 600 attack points. It's not a massive reduction, but it can be enough. For example, if you were to use that effect off of this, that means it can attack easily over any monster that has 2800 or less attack points before you take out of this card's deduction effect. It mentions here as part of the notes, I think this is a merger of Berserker, Receptible, and Mani, the term for various important jewels found within the religion of Buddhism. Providence's Secret Remedy is a normal spell card with the effect, until the end of the turn, one monster gains 500 attack points, then you gain 500 life points. It's a decent effect. It's a bit like having a reinforcement in the form of a spell card, and you gain 500 life points. There aren't any costs or conditions attached to it. And the final set of cards introduce a brand new maximum monster to the duels. The first is Dragius Burst, the Great Striking Dragon L. This is a level 7 light attribute monster with 1500 attack and 0 defense. The most interesting thing about this is both the L and R versions don't have any effects. They've got the same stat lineup, no effects, which actually makes them a lot weaker than the other maximum monsters, because each of them, the central version of itself, once maximum summoned, usually gains the effects of the L and the R version. But in this case, since there aren't any effects, it's relying on its own central effect as being strong enough. Again, like I said, the R version's the same, so we'll cover the original version, which is Dragius Burst, the Great Striking Dragon. It being a level 10 light attribute monster. Its maximum attack is 3500 if it's been properly maximum summoned. Otherwise, its normal attack is 2000 with 0 defense. The maximum effect is you can activate this by sending the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This card can attack 3 times this turn. I can kind of understand why they didn't want to add too many other effects to this card. For starters, the requirement on it isn't difficult, it's just sending the top card off the deck to the graveyard. There isn't really any other cost to it, and it can continually be used each and every turn. The other thing is it can attack up to 3 times in a turn. It doesn't specify on monsters, so I would imagine this also includes direct attacks. So with a 3500 attack monster, potentially if your opponent isn't able to do anything and you can zero out their attack points, or you can just get this card to attack directly, it can be doing potentially up to 10,500 points of damage. No wonder it doesn't have any other protection effects or anything else associated with it. I would say this is a bit of a letdown overall because it's just a pure battle-based strategy. If your opponent's able to destroy this by any sort of trap card or anything else, or just even stop it for the turn and then take out the other monsters, then it doesn't have the maximum attack points of the 3500. They get reduced down to 2000, making it that much easier to run over. Considering the other monsters are also level 7, they require 2 tributes to bring those out. It's not the easiest thing to do, and it's just inadvisable. I am very disappointed about this as a new maximum monster, just because there are so many other versions. Typically you expect some sort of power increase as the duels go on and the new maximum monsters get introduced in the game, but this is the opposite. This seems to have been what we should have expected of the very first maximum monster used by Neil or maybe even Yugioh. It's just so underwhelming. I'm just a bit disappointed. What do you guys think of these number of cards? Is there any you can actually see playing? Personally, I don't think many of these cards are worth running for the time being, mostly because we don't know anything about them. I mean, you know, we know barely anything of any of these cards. I would say the Maximum Monster is interesting only from the point that, you know, it's a brand new one. Any new cards they introduce, you're always going to have some fascination towards. Overall, with no effect, Connectodol is probably the weakest one I'd say out this list. But if you feel differently, please put those in the comments down below. I love hearing what you guys think. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily Yu-Gi-Oh content.